Good morning. We'll go ahead and get started. I'm sure we'll have people coming and going a bit through the day. I'm Diane Rover. I'm a professor in electrical and computer engineering and also the faculty director for SP at ISU. And we're pleased to have you joining us. We're excited for our workshop today and the sessions that we have. This is, again, sponsored by SP at ISU Strength and Professoriate, and also Iowa EPSCoR. Sriram Sundarajan is here, and we're pleased to have EPSCoR support. And one of the ways that they're helping us support this is we are recording the workshop today so that we can put this at our websites and have it available for others who are not able to make the workshop, which we know is a very valuable resource for faculty and staff on campus, and as well as our other Iowa EPSCoR institutions and others in the broader impacts community as it continues to grow. So today, just as a quick introduction, what are broader impacts? Okay, we're here, we assume we're on board with broader impacts. Broader impacts can have various meanings. In this case, we have SP at ISU as focused on the National Science Foundation's definition of broader impacts, although we know other federal and state agencies have their versions of broader impacts that show up in their calls and solicitations. But when NSF reviews proposals, they review it based on two criteria, the intellectual merit criterion and the broader impacts criterion. And there's various broader impacts areas or themes that have been put forth. Some of them are listed here. These are fairly general. But there are various ways of, at all levels, of promoting teaching, training, and learning, in addition to the discovery with the research, broadening participation of underrepresented groups, which is the broader impacts we're focusing on today, as well as various kinds of building infrastructure, including the infrastructure for research and education, and then also the public engagement with STEM, and that's often in the form of broadly disseminating our results to the public. And there's other ways to do that as well. And then just in general, recognizing and promoting the benefits to society of the research. So today we are focusing on broadening participation. And the motivation for this workshop comes in part because SP at ISU has put on workshops. We have tried to focus on various of those areas of broader impacts at various times over the past few years. And our advisory council, we have a very broad advisory council representing each of the STEM colleges on campus, representing various broader impacts programs, faculty, staff. So we meet with our advisory council every semester. And some of the feedback that we've gotten is to go ahead and have a workshop on diversity and inclusion, on broadening participation. And then as we've teamed up with Iowa EPSCoR, this has been an area very important to them. And so through the encouragement of both of those, we've put together what we see as an excellent workshop today. And the workshop is going to focus on broadening participation. And we're going to take a look at the programs on campus that are promoted in each of our colleges and centrally as well. And as we've worked with various colleges on campus, and our associate deans for research and other faculty and staff from the colleges are on our advisory council, we know that each of the colleges is supporting various diversity programs, doing this quite intensively, and are interested in faculty working with those programs. So again, whether it's within a college or centrally, we have programs on campus, very beneficial for faculty researchers to partner with them, and we wanted to highlight some of them today. We have a database at our website that provides information about many other programs, but we are looking at a few of them today, and you'll get some advice on how to partner with them. And again, we're working on connecting faculty researchers with opportunities. That's opportunities with these programs, even opportunities with other faculty, and including other faculty in the School of Education. We have a speaker at lunch today, Brian Burt, a new assistant professor in the School of Education who's done some exciting work that we'll share with you. And this afternoon, the couple of sessions are on incorporating outcomes for broadening participation in faculty, more directly in faculty research groups, and also in faculty's classrooms. So there are some ways that we sometimes might look past because they seem maybe too obvious to us, but if we are intentional, explicit in what we do with our research groups, what we do in our classrooms as faculty, those are some opportunities for us to use broadening participation as a broader impact kind of in our day-to-day activities. And then we're going to start out with just an emphasis on some of the data-driven approaches that we would want to include in our proposals, in our evaluation of broadening participation, and the value of that. So I already mentioned the sessions that we have in store for you today. Again, we're glad to have you here. We hope you can stay for all the sessions, but we also understand if you come and go a bit. Your program that you have in your packet lists those who are involved with each of the sessions. And then, again, we have lunch, and lunch is going to be just in the room adjacent to this. So we're centrally located here in the MU all day. So Max Shelley, who's also a co-PI on the SP at ISU project, Mac and I are going to be talking a little bit about evidence-based and data-driven strategies to get started. And the first point that I want to make is that many of you, especially if you've been involved with the education programs of NSF, you've seen increasing language related to evidence-based strategies. And it's in NSF's strategic plan. Again, a lot of it is directed towards instructional practices, and that we are being asked to base our instructional practices in our proposals on evidence-based strategies, so that we are referring to the theory and research behind the pedagogy as we would use it, and in addition to doing some evaluation as we apply those practices, so that we can add to the knowledge base, understanding the effectiveness of those practices. And a few years ago, there was a National Research Council paper on promising practices, and the premise of that was the problem in STEM education lies less in not knowing what works and more in getting people to use proven techniques. And what we've been seeing is that not only in education, but across all of the broader impacts areas, there is an increasing emphasis within NSF on evidence-based strategies. So we'll talk a little bit about data that might be the basis for some of those evidence-based strategies, but we'll also want to, those of you who here are representing programs, you are also the experts on many of those evidence-based strategies, and so we encourage faculty researchers to partner with programs early because you will also, that is the way that faculty researchers will get access to some of those evidence-based strategies and be able to build it on proven practices. So if we think about how we using data to support the diversity and inclusion plans that we have in our research proposals and our projects, there's several areas we can look at with the data. What's the purpose of the data? What are the types of data? What are the sources of data? And most of this introductory session this morning, before we get into our other sessions, we'll look at some sources of data to create some familiarity with where you might find data that's going to support your proposal. But you also want to think about what is the purpose of the data. As you put it, is it data that is going to be in the proposal, part of the broader impacts plan? It can help make a stronger argument, help tell your story as you state the problem and construct an argument around that for the broader impacts work that is being described in the proposal. And then in the proposal, you will also be discussing the outcomes of the broader impacts, and then even in the implementation, you will later be evaluating those outcomes. And it is important to measure progress and success through specific metrics. And so the data that you either put in your proposal or that you need to collect and analyze as you go through your project may support evaluation of the broader impacts outcomes. So the first question, what do you want to do with the data? Then what types of data might be available to support that? And as you go through the various sources, typically you'll land on 3 types of data for diversity and inclusion, and that's participation, success, and climate data. And we'll see examples, especially of the first 2 that are immediately accessible, such as the enrollments and degrees, retention, graduation rates. And then there's also various climate studies that would be available. Some of these, again, are more specific to a particular population or to a particular environment. But there's also increasing numbers of studies in the literature that we all have in our various fields, whether it's in your expert field or it's in our disciplinary fields, where we are seeing more and more reports from studies on various climate in education. So lots of data out there, so there may be 1 or more types of data that faculty would want to look at in their proposals to make the case for their broader impacts. And sources of data, I think I'll turn it over to Mac now and let him give you an overview.
Diane, thanks very much. I'm going to hang out here by the computer because I'm going to take the liberty of showing you a couple of embedded links, and that'll take us through some very concrete examples of where you get data of various kinds. So broadly speaking, there are going to be 2 general flavors of data, if you will, that we'll talk about. One is data that you can have rather easy access to. These are some examples in this list, and I can walk you through at least a couple of those. One common source is the ISU Factbook, which has lots of information about students as well as faculty, a lot of demographic breakdowns. Before I get any further into this, I do want to point out that we're going to have a scavenger hunt, a data scavenger hunt. You'll see the questions on your table. There is a bit of an object lesson here that I want to convey in just a moment about the Factbook. It has to do with the second question. So something happened within the last week, right? We had this all primed and ready to go, and sure enough, something changed on us. So it's an interesting object lesson in how data can kind of come and go. It was there a week ago, and suddenly it isn't. So go figure. The registrar's office is another common source of data that you probably want to put into your proposals. A really excellent source, which cross-links lots of other data sources, by the way, is for the Program for Women in Science and Engineering. They have a data web page, I'll show you in a moment, that does a fabulous job. In particular, by the way, it links to the next item in the list here, which is the data page for the American Society for Engineering Education. Specific engineering, of course, but it has a wonderful compilation of data, lots of nice graphs, as well as tables and summary data you could mine pretty quickly. At the K-12 level, because in many cases what you might be doing involves broader impact partnerships with the broader education community outside of a campus, the Iowa Department of Education is one easily available source, and I kind of walk you through one particular kind of information you can get from there. So let me take you to the Factbook. You may already be very familiar with this, but you can, of course, locate this at the usual ribbon at the top of the ISU homepage. I have this hot linked in, and you'll be getting a copy of these PowerPoints with all the embedded links, so you can just click, as I just did. So the Factbook has lots of information about a number of things. You notice it's broken down by particularly students, alums, faculty and staff, courses, academic departments and programs. There's also some financial information available. And just as a quick example, if you were to click where it says students, you get potentially tons of information that would be directly relevant to what you might want to put into your proposals. So it says information about admissions, enrollments, several different ways, including broken down by race and ethnicity. Also has student success metrics, learning communities, study abroad, degrees. So pretty much anything you'd want that would have an appropriate demographic breakdown is here. Yes? There is some graduate information as well. You're going to have to know where to look for it, but you're correct that it is predominantly at the undergrad level, but not exclusively so. Okay, and what you see on the rest of the slide is just kind of a quick breakdown of what I just showed you on the page. So pretty much anything you want to get involving student demographics, outcome metrics, and the like, which is crucial for most of the BI components of a proposal, is going to be right here. So this information comes from the Office of Institutional Research up in Beardshire Hall. Another common source of information is the Office of the Registrar. And I'm going to share with you briefly a document that's going to be not real digestible visually right away. This is about a 5-page document that the Registrar's Office has prepared that tells you what information is available. So it does include a whole bunch of things about students. Particularly, by the way, it's a really good source of information about students' high school preparation on their way to Iowa State. So you'll have disaggregated ACT scores along a whole bunch of different lines. You'll have a number of courses that the students have taken as high school preparation. And these are often really important covariates to use in a model to try to figure out the probability of student success. It also gives you student gender, ethnicity, first generation status, and a number of other variables. So I'm just going to scroll through that really fast. You get lots of detail. If you want to have metrics for student involvement in other activities, athletics, honors, and such, that's all here as well. It's a very rich data source, and it's very common to mine this in combination with other data and kind of produce a composite data set that is usually what you need to do a really thorough job of model building. Okay, well, the short answer to that is you need to contact the powers that be in the registrar's office. And that ordinarily, by the way, also implies going through an IRB process. The crucial thing to understand about what I was just scrolling through very quickly is that this is information at the individual student level. What's in the fact book is in part an aggregated form of that individual level set of records. So you can get data on tens, if not hundreds of thousands of students over the years here. From that RegInfo data source. RegInfo is just the name of a file that has that list in it, but I've worked for many years with huge data sets that come from this source, and it works very nicely. Ada?
Thank you. I think all of this information you're sharing with us is very useful, but my concern is that a lot of the people who are writing their broader impacts may not have the time to go through it. And I was wondering whether the new Grants Hub might be, maybe this could be a recommendation to the Grants Hub that that's something that they could really help have ready at their hands. It sort of answers that. I don't know if you've discussed this.
I mean, I think that's a good suggestion for the Grants Hub, and we'll certainly be bringing that to them. I guess I was coming over here to Rachel too, because Rachel just helped us with a proposal in the College of Engineering, and you might comment how you do support some of that through the Engineering Research Institute.
So I'm at the Engineering Research Institute, and we do help the engineering, hopefully the same way that the hub will for all the other colleges. The registrar's page does have Excel files that do not require IRB approval. So you're not getting the individual student, but you're getting this number of women in this department in engineering are enrolled at the grad student level, at the undergrad level. So you do have that, that data available without having to go through more strenuous certification.
So I would echo that. I think for most proposals with the faculty are my voice is loud enough. No, it's not. Oh, sorry. I'm just sorry about that. So I think for most faculty preparing the proposals, the first place that they'd like to incorporate is program level data. So whatever information that can be gathered or give some guidance to the faculty, depending upon what story they want to write or what they want to focus on, it could change. But at the very least, the program level is where they stand to impact it the best, I guess. So yeah, you don't want to get them lost in the weeds of trying to, spend time and gather that information and then get discouraged if they can't find it easily. So.
Yep, good point.
Thank you. These are all excellent points. One other source that I'd advertised earlier that's a real gold mine is the data page for the Program for Women in Science and Engineering. This has lots of useful information, including data tables that are broken down. Not readable, I realize, but this gives you a breakdown of number of female students by discipline. And so along the lines of the previous comment from Rachel, that there are Excel files, or in this case a PDF, that are easily mineable. You don't have to go into raw data records. The raw data records are there if you need to do something more detail level, but by and large, these aggregated results are what you'd probably need to have for drafting a proposal. So basically, you get information out of the PWIS data source on enrollment, number of degrees awarded to women in STEM fields by college, as well as overall at Iowa State. There also are state and national data sources available. Let me go back and revisit that for a moment so you can see that. So down here, this kind of gets into our next data source anyway. You can click right where I just did. You get access to national reports. The prime one to mine is probably right here, Engineering College Profiles and Statistics book. And if you click where it says Engineering Statistics here, by the way, you get access to lots of compiled information. So again, it's nothing you have to do from raw data. And they have very nice charts, too, as a matter of fact, which you probably could copy and paste into a proposal. That would be helpful.
And here, too, I mean, I would echo again that this is, some of this is available from the PWIS site. So while faculty researchers might go browse here on their own and look for data just to kind of see what's available, if this is an area that you're doing broader impacts work in, then highly recommend that you actually partner with the Program for Women in Science and Engineering, set up a meeting with their staff. They know the data inside and out, and they can help you frame the problem, brainstorm about with ideas about how you want to approach it in ways that are complementary to the research in your proposal, your other interests and activities. So this is where rich sources of data that are available that have already been compiled by the programs, but faculty should be working with the programs directly if you're going to try to do something substantial in that area. And that's where our next session we will be talking with the programs, and the programs are already experts on much of this data.
One quick thing you might want to notice is this particular report ranks institutions, and you probably can see that I'm hovering here where Iowa State is. So if you want to be able to put into your proposal where Iowa State is, either near the top, middle, not doing so well toward the bottom, this gives you some opportunity to make a good pitch to NSF about where Iowa State needs, why Iowa State needs support from NSF to be able to achieve even better in these areas. So we actually already did what I have on this slide, so that's all from the PWIS homepage. At the K-12 level, because quite a lot of broader impacts proposals are likely to include K-12 partnerships with higher education institutions like Iowa State or maybe community colleges. It's useful to know where you get information that you can embed in your proposal about K-12, the K-12 context. Let me take you there. What pops up, by the way, you need to kind of focus your eyes on this a little bit because it's a massive information. Iowa Department of Education has been very good over the years about putting very comprehensive Excel data sets together that are relatively easy to get at. Let's do something kind of straightforward like clicking here where it says public district for the academic year 2013-14. That's the most recent year for which they'd have complete data, of course. You might, if you can read that, you might notice that you can get instant access to information broken down by each currently extant public school district in the state in terms of aggregate enrollment by district, as well as the breakdown in terms of grade level, race, and gender. And it takes about a nanosecond to download, so it's very quick and easy to get at. So you could, of course, sort by a county, if that's of interest, or by the name of a particular district. So you're going to find out fairly quickly like what the composition is in, well, let's go back to Ames. So there you go. In row 19, you've got sort of instant access at your fingertips, so lots of information about the demographics here in Ames Public Schools. You can do this for all the districts in the state. This might be a good way, by the way, to find particular districts that would be good targets of opportunity for a partnership, particularly if there are high incidences of non-traditional students. And there's almost an infinite amount of information, very much like what you're seeing right here. Okay, so that's data you can look up on your own. There are other sources of data. I'll only take a moment to do one or two of these. So one source, for example, would be your multicultural liaison officer at the college level. And this is who they are. So you can get quick and easy access this way to who they are, and they're infinitely wonderful sources of information. And this might provide a source for qualitative data beyond just simply numbers. You usually need a healthy mix of both of those, and you might want to interview an MLO and try to get his or her assistance in collecting other information. They might also be able to conduct focus groups, interviews, and otherwise get personal level information for you. There's the University Committee on Diversity, which provides lots of reports. There's Committee on Women, the Advanced Program. Let me click on that one, because that's a treasure trove there as well. So, excuse me, much information here about the NSF Advanced Program here at Iowa State, and they do provide data as well. Every college has equity advisors. That's another wonderful source, and this is a list of them, as well as contact information. You click there, you figure out how to get a hold of Mark Chittister, for example, for design. The Office of Institutional Research is actually a source for a lot of the primary data that gets aggregated in these other formats. You could kind of click as I just did, and you can get quick access to the folks that are available there. You click where it says IR staff, that would give you lots of people you could contact. So you're not quite alone in this process. If you're not real up on where to go immediately to get data on your own, these are among the people you could contact to give you access. Either they'll do it for you, or they're going to tell you where to look this up. Office of the Registrar is another main source, and one that you may not be as familiar with is the Department of Residence and Assessment Office, Research and Assessments Office. They've been around for a very long time, and they do excellent work, almost by definition, with students who are housed on campus in the dorms. They do lots of surveys, they have lots of institutional data as well, and they often cross-link with registrars and other primary data sources. So I found them to be invaluable over the years. One thing to be aware of, actually two documents here, there is actually something of a cookbook. That's not quite the right way to phrase it, but it kind of comes down to that. So if you're not familiar with running a project, especially an NSF project with broader impacts implications, there is help right there. pretty detailed document that's only a few years old. It's pretty current. The 2010 user-friendly, and it really is user-friendly. This is written in just plain language. It's not methodological jargon. It's really easy to comprehend. This, by the way, is designed specifically for people who are in charge of the projects. So if you're doing this, especially for the first time, or if you had tried it once before and things didn't quite work out right, this is a really good place to go to get, well, user-friendly information about how to make things work more smoothly. Kind of along those same lines, this is specific to graduate programs. But NSF also does have a handy guide involving how to strategize for graduate level STEM initiatives, particularly about measuring diversity. And so this, you could pretty easily, especially for the evaluation component of an NSF proposal, not literally copy and paste out of this, but at least, take some ideas out of this document. That's why it's there.
And for faculty researchers who are putting any substantial funds into their broader impacts plans in relation to broadening participation, you might want to even work with an evaluator or a statistician, somebody like Mac or others on campus in the various offices and programs that we have, because that also helps wade through the different methods that might be used and takes a little bit of the stress off of the individual disciplinary faculty researcher.
We do, by the way, have some professional evaluators in the room. Do you guys want to wave your hand? There you go. These are good people to talk to. A little bit over time, but so I hope you were paying attention as I was kind of schlepping through a whole bunch of sites, websites and such. So we have fabulous prizes, I believe, for the lucky winners who get the correct answer, or the closest possible to the correct answer for these questions. And you should have these on the table in front of you. Do you want me to run through?
We did narrow down the first question, so it's STEM department as opposed to what's on your table. And then we did change question 2 because of the fact book data. They must be transitioning the degree data from the last year to this year, so they took it down and put coming soon. So the question that you have on your sheet, if you find an answer, you can certainly answer that one, but we couldn't find the answer when we were checking on it. So we've replaced it with question number 2 here. So these are, so you might jot that one down. Megan, anything else? They'll So slips of paper in your folder to put your answers on. You can put your answers in the boxes outside the door, and we will draw for prizes over the noon hour. Okay, so yes.
I'm Rita Dobbs. I have a question about this topic. Thank you, Diane. Drina Dobbs, I have a question about the evidence-based and data-driven strategies, and all of these websites are very useful, and I guess I'm coming back a little to what Otis said. One of the things that you haven't touched on is evidence-based strategies for increasing the participation of a more diverse group of students, and that's what I had real trouble on. I've written or co-written 5 or 6 training grants for graduate students, and I always have a problem when I get to the part that says, what are your evidence-based strategies for enhancing diversity? There's plenty of data here, but where are the evidence-based strategies?
So I can comment, and then Matt can fill in. Today, we're going to try to give you evidence-based strategies. I mean, I guess as we talk with the programs in the next panel session, I think programs come with some evidence-based strategies. They've had practices from their own assessment that they've shown to be effective, and often are very familiar with the literature, in their domain. And then, as I said, I think sometimes it is even incumbent on the researcher to go look, like in my field, my professional society is IEEE. I go look at, say, IEEE transactions on education, or even ASEE. The ASEE Journal of Engineering Education has upped the ante on the kind of research that it reports on evidence-based strategies. And so it's a bit incumbent on the researcher also to go look into their disciplinary field to try to find what other researchers are doing.
Wah, wah, wah. Okay, so I actually went to the NSF, figuring since they were asking for this, they would have a site because they've had NSF IGERT training grants, GK-12s, and many others, and I could find no such evidence-based strategies. But I agree, there are folks here at ISU who do have them, but my efforts to locate that information, at least, is Craig Ogilvy here yet? I contacted Craig and said, wow, we must have, you know, some evidence-based strategies for increasing participation, and I really didn't get any. So I appreciate that we can go to our disciplinary sources, and that's actually what I ended up doing. But one of the things that I think as the purpose of this and also Grants Hub could provide an easier route to obtaining the strategies that work. Thank you.
I think that's an excellent suggestion. So we'll work on that through SP at ISU and hopefully together with some of our other programs on campus and see if we can make that easier for faculty to track down some of those evidence-based strategies, especially ones that we would like to promote because they mesh well with Iowa State programs. Okay, we are going to transition to the next session. Alex Travisett, a professor in physics and astronomy, is our moderator for this session, and we have various panelists, so I guess we'll ask the panelists to come forward and we'll get moved over.
Okay, so I'm Alex Travisett, and I will be moderating this panel. What? It's working. So the way this will work is that we will have first short presentations, 8-minute presentations. If there is really a concrete, very concrete clarification about these presentations, please ask, but try to keep all the question and answer for at the end of all the presentations. We really want to get this going and then just have a question and answer session just after all the presentations have come. So anyway,
while we're doing the presentations, the point was made that it's hard to see the screen, so the presenters feel free to sit here, and then we'll ask you to come up to the table after we're done.
So the first presentation. So okay, I will introduce each of the presenters on one by one. So and then they will come here to stage. So the first presentation is by Linda Hagedorn. She's the Associated Dean of Undergraduate Programs in the College of Human Sciences. So please. If you want, you can be there. You want to see the screen. Do you need the
Hi, good morning. I'm Linda Hagedorn from the School of Education, and I'm also the Associate Dean in the College of Human Sciences. And I'm one of the folks that has been working on the partnership with King and Moulton Schools in Des Moines. This project began back in 2012 when President Leith, at his inauguration, actually discussed the project. And it stems from his meeting with Representative Abdul Samad. And the representative kind of challenged him to say, well, what's Iowa State doing for low income and students of color? And President Leith kind of thought about that a moment and thought, yeah, we need to do something more. And so that's how this idea began. So the goal was to align family, school, and community coalitions along with some financial support for students who come from a low-income, two low-income schools in Des Moines to actually come to Iowa State. Sometimes the question comes, why these two schools? Well, King and Moulton schools certainly are among a number of schools in the state of Iowa that have a majority of low income and students of color. But specifically, these students are close proximity, and they're two schools in which we have had some relationships with before. 95% of King students and 91% of Moulton students qualify for free or reduced price lunch. Both of these schools are in the near the Drake University area, so you have kind of a perspective of where they're located. And they are in Representative Abdul Samad's area. What is it? The King Moulton project really has two main parts. But a big part is a Promise program. And the Promise program is that if students who graduate from King and Moulton schools fit the criteria, they will get a free ride in terms of tuition and fees at Iowa State University when they graduate. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. But that's only a piece of it. There's also a concerted partnership between Iowa State and these two schools and Des Moines Public Schools to not just provide scholarships, but to provide a arena where students are learning about what it means to be a college student and are getting academically prepared. There's also a large preponderance of the student teachers in practica that are being performed there at King and Moulton schools. We actually have a monopoly on placing students at these two schools, so that it is a very strong ISU atmosphere at these two schools. And we want to equip the families. Extension and outreach is also a big portion of this, to help equip families with the access to the tools necessary for college access, affordability, and academic readiness. So here's the requirements for the Promise part. Students must meet their annual attendance requirement as established by the Des Moines Public Schools. They must behave and have up to the disciplinary standards of the Des Moines School District. They maintain a portfolio of work. Each year they do another project. This is determined by the classroom teachers of what's appropriate. When they're in the 5th grade, they must submit a letter of interest to ISU. Now, if they fulfill those requirements and they fulfill those requirements for 1 year, they'll get a 20% tuition award across all 4 years of their undergraduate enrollment. And obviously, you see the formula there. If they're there for 5 years, and in those 5 years meet the attendance requirements and the behavior requirements, then they will get a full tuition scholarship. The partnership is also, as I said, with Extension, as well as with these two community partnerships, Creative Visions, which is Representative Abdul Samad's organization, and CFUM, which is Children and Family Urban Movement, which are both community-involved, organizations in the greater Drake area that is working closely with the families and students. So the opportunities, obviously because we have a partnership and because we are also going to be signing an MOA on January 13th with the schools, we want to be careful not to overwhelm the schools with too many requests, but so that there is a process, and in your packages there is a handout that talks about the process of being approved to do research with this project, with the team. So there is a review process. There are many broader impacts of related inquiry that we had discussed in our work with the King and Moulton schools, and you see the list there. A lot of opportunity with family literacy and peer relations, poverty in both of these schools. As I said, it is majority, minority school populations. They have multiple languages. I think one of the schools had 50 different languages that were spoken at home from that school. So lots of opportunities. Okay, thank you.
Thanks a lot for this very interesting presentation. I'm looking forward to the comments. Is there any quick question? Okay, that's great. So the next speaker will be Janice Crow, Program Assistant of the Program for Women in Science and Engineering.
Good morning. My name is Janice Crow, and I work in the Program for Women in Science and Engineering. Oh, thanks. There we go. And our office is actually located on second floor in Carver. So we have 6 people that work in our office, and that picture in the center up there is our staff. So you can see myself, and then in the center is our director, Laura Lee Crystal, and then right behind her is Allie Rowe. So we have 3 professional staff, and then also 3 half-time graduate assistants that work in our office. So the Program for Women in Science and Engineering, it was established in 1986. And it actually started when there was several staff and faculty members who were interested in increasing or addressing the underrepresentation and underutilization of women in STEM fields. And so they actually started by creating career conference for girls to come to Iowa State University and learn about opportunities in science, technology, engineering, and math. And in fact, we still have this conference. We still host this conference today. So we support women in 50 STEM majors and women who are studying in the colleges of engineering, liberal arts and sciences, ag and life sciences, and the College of Human Sciences. So we support a broad range of majors that women study. So one of the work that we do is really divided into two categories. First of all, we provide support for women that are here at Iowa State studying in STEM fields. One of the first ways that we provide support for women is through our learning community. So our learning community is a way for students to be able to connect with each other and also to begin building a support network during their time here at Iowa State. In the learning communities, actually, there has been research that shows that women who are involved in a learning community actually are more likely to stay in a STEM field. So that's something that is very encouraging for us. We have also, let's see, we have course clustering is a way that these students can actually take classes, some of their core classes together. So that really helps with them being able to find people to study with and to form study groups, which is another way that we can help them be successful while they're here at Iowa State. So something we've done in the past couple years is to incorporate Strengths Quest programming into the work that we're doing. So I don't know if you're familiar with Strengths Quest, but we give our students the Strengths Finder online assessment inventory, and they answer these questions, and then it tells them what their strengths are. And then we've been able to incorporate those strengths and programming around the students being able to use those strengths to be successful during their time at Iowa State and as they go into their careers. So we're very happy to be able to provide that for our students as well. And there's some other examples of things that we do for students that are here at Iowa State. The second part of what we do is to actually reach out to students before they arrive at Iowa State. So like I mentioned before, we have the career conference that was started in 1986 that we still do, which is called Taking the Road Less Traveled. And that's where middle school and high school girls come here to Iowa State and attend this career conference where they learn about different opportunities in a variety of STEM fields. We have that conference. We do it 6 times each year. We have 4 that we do for middle school students and 2 that we do for high school students. So we have at least 400 students, usually over 400 students for each of these conferences that are here on campus. And so it's really a large number of students that we're able to impact. We also have our student role model program, which is where we have Iowa State students that go out into the K through 12 schools across the state of Iowa, and they take with them different science activities and experiments, and they work together with the teachers in these classrooms and just implementing these activities and these experiments. So our goal there is really to just get both boys and girls excited about opportunities in STEM fields, and to do that early on. So, and with that program, we reach over 10,000 K through 12 students in a year. So another really large audience of that we serve and that we impact. So, so lastly, how can we work together? First of all, I think I want to stress that we really want to hear your ideas. We want to know what your ideas are, and then we can work together with you with ideas that you already have. We're happy to share with you some of the things that we've already done in the past and some things that we're currently doing, but we really do want to hear from you about what your ideas are. So we've done, in the past, written with some different groups of people, written some NSF grants to be able to create some different hands-on activities for our TRLT conference. That's an example of something we've done in the past. We've also done NSF grants to create activities for these role model kits and activities that I was describing earlier that our current students go out into the classroom and work with. And so we've created some new activities through an NSF grant. Currently, we're actually working with some departments to incorporate a service learning project into a calculus class. So that's something that we're right now in the process of writing this grant to be able to do that. So that's very exciting, something we're doing currently. So that's it. So that's a little bit about the program for women in science and engineering, and thanks for listening.
Okay, thanks. Is there any, one quick question?
I don't have that number. So is it because you're interested in having some students come in and do research with you?
Well, that's the intent too.
Yeah.
draw them in, to retain them through the undergraduate research experience.
So we had, in the past, we had a program that was where it was like an internship, where they did that. They actually worked with faculty to be able to do some research. So that is something that we are not currently doing. Oh, but it's something that we've considered bringing back. So, like for what we did in the past when we did it, you mean? Or I'm sure it's there. If you give me your name, I can find it and then pass it along if you'd like. Do you? I was gonna say, or if you have like thoughts, things you want to contribute, ways you want to work with us, then share that with us too.
Okay.
Please.
Amanda?
I think I see some comments others might have on the data on undergrad research. Is that right? Or okay, I'll give this to you in one moment. So Iowa State is hiring an undergraduate research coordinator that is going to work through the honors program. And so at the central level, Iowa State is going to, as an institution, we will be facilitating and tracking undergraduate research experiences much more extensively as we go along. And so I think whether it's your program, or I'm also affiliated with the Inspire LSAM program, and Iowa EPSCoR works with us on that, and even the many undergrad REUs that we have on campus, we can track down some data, and Mari might even know from RISE whether we would have access to some of those statistics now, or whether this is something we just need to work on more to get better access to these statistics to describe those experiences. Do we have data on undergrad student participation? It's fragmented.
I think it's fragmented, and we have information from certain programs, summer programs, but not from all of them.
So that's a good question, and I think we'll do more with collecting that.
So I actually had a couple of questions related to both the comments and the original discussion. One is, you say you discontinued the internship program. What was the reason for discontinuing it? Was it
Not sure if this is okay. That happened when we had made some cuts in staffing. So it was right at that time that we were reducing staff and really had to make decisions about what we were able to provide. And I know that actually happened before I was with the Women in Science and Engineering, but I know that that's something that was disappointing to the staff.
well, actually for you, quickly. So you mentioned there's going to be someone doing this coordination of undergraduate research, and it will be allied with the honors program, but will it be dealing with and tracking students who don't come to us through the honors program?
So this is a position that is not exclusive to honors research, just the natural organizational structure that was a natural place to put it. And this is someone who they're not going to be running undergraduate research programs, but they are going to be facilitating interaction, coordination across the existing undergraduate research programs on campus, from honors to others, some of the NSF REUs and some shared programming that might happen across them, and thus, I believe, also then evaluation, tracking, things like that. So some of that is yet to be, they're just going through the search and hiring process now, and I'm sure it'll all become clearer as a person would come on board and get started in the spring. But I think it really is an excellent, move to get a little more organization and coordination of that.
I know Alex said save questions for the end. I apologize. I have to run to another meeting, but I just want to share these thoughts or input with the various programs. One is, I know you're alluding to ways faculty have successfully worked with, so I think some examples of that are always useful for especially the new faculty who are trying to feel their way around. The second is, we all have these various programs in place, but I'm hoping that based on your the experience of the individuals running the program or data, which of these programs have been the most impactful for whatever stated goals your programs have?
Okay, we will answer this question.
I know. So just to keep that in mind, especially the faculty, it's one thing to just do activities, but what NSF or any other program would like to say is what are the impact of those activities?
I'm writing down this question, and
Okay,
we will
so-
answer soon. So I will
And so I'm hoping we'll have some discussion on that. Right?
thanks a
I
lot,
think
because
that's
we
a
would
good
like
point.
to keep all the presentations together. So Ada, please. Thanks a lot, Janice. Ada, who is the Pre-College Education Program Director in the Center for Biorenewable Chemicals.
Thank you. Is this the?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here and hopefully help those of you who are interested in improving their broader impact. So, as Alex just said, I work for the NSF Engineering Research Center for Biorenewable Chemicals, and the reason I'm emphasizing the NSF Engineering Research Center is that it also had to go through a very rigorous review process that included broader impacts, and part of the broader impacts that had to be included was a pre-college education program. And this is what I'm going to talk about this morning. And together with that, I'm going to talk about how one of our emphasis is to feed the pipeline through this broader impact activity. So a little bit about our approach in CBURC. CBURC is the Center for Biorenewable Chemicals. Our approach through the broader impacts at the pre-college level. One of our important goals is to help teachers, specifically science teachers, think and perform as 21st century scientists in their classroom, so that the teachers begin to understand better how scientists work, how scientists collaborate, how science is interdisciplinary, something that is not common in schools where most sciences and math and technology are taught in a silo. We are also very committed to providing support for professional learning communities for science teachers across disciplines, grades, and schools. And we do that as we work together with specific school districts. And finally, it's very important that I stress our final approach is that whatever we do with our stakeholders, mostly schools and teachers, long-term. We don't do things short-term. We like to approach everything on a long-term basis so that teachers, schools, and everyone involved understands that we're really committed to whatever we're doing. And the idea behind all these three approaches is to produce a diverse set of high school graduates who are ready to meet the demands and challenges of this 21st century and are competitive in the STEM fields. So we do this at CBURC in our pre-college program through 3 signature programs. All of them are broader impact programs that have developed through very strong collaborations with faculty here at Iowa State. So the Research Experiences for Teachers program runs across the whole spectrum of STEM at Iowa State, from the Department of Ecology, Evolution, Organismal Biology, agronomy, horticulture, aerospace engineering, the whole gamut. And just to give an explanation, some faculty are writing smaller grants and they don't have a large budget, and so they can include maybe 1 teacher a year who will come and spend the summer with them in their research laboratory and learn in more detail about what the researcher, meaning those of you who are here, do in your research, and then continue this long-term partnership with that faculty member to develop communications, to develop materials, to include the faculty member in classroom demonstrations, to bring the classroom to the university to visit, not just the campus and the dorms and the dining halls, but also what goes on behind the classrooms, and that is the research, which is very important for high school students to see. A second, and then also we've worked with faculty to submit RET sites. So depending on how much money you want to spend and the sort of proposal you're submitting, we can tailor with you the sort of RET program you would like to develop. Another program we have is the Young Engineers and Scientists program. That started out 14 years ago in a partnership with the Ames High School, where the school worked with us to create a memorandum of understanding where students who participate in this program are allowed to leave school early in the afternoon 3 times a week so that they have a block of at least 3 hours to do research on campus. And these students come here for a semester or 2. We don't pay them. They receive a high school credit at Ames High. And this has been a wonderful opportunity for high school students to go beyond the typical STEM classroom and understand what science is really about in a research setting. And it's also been a wonderful opportunity for recruitment to bring these students here to Iowa State and continue their higher education here. We now have a program for summer for young engineers and scientists, which is a paid internship, and we work very closely with school districts in the area. It's a commuter program. It's not residential, although we are looking into collaborating with the George Washington Carver Summer Institute to include high school students. And it's very similar to the idea with the research for teachers and research for undergraduates, where students get an idea of what research is all about. And then the other signature program is the GK-12 and now the STEM-C program, which are 2 NSF-funded programs written in collaboration with ISU faculty to place graduate students in STEM fields in K-12 classrooms, specifically in Des Moines, where there's a high need and a high enrollment of low-income students and underrepresented students, and to place graduate students in classrooms to be role models, to help students engage better in STEM, and to provide teachers with professional development. And what's cool here is faculty who have graduate students that are involved in this, or who encourage their graduate students to become involved in these programs. The faculty themselves can develop their broader impacts based on this, because they can work with their graduate students, with the teacher in the classroom, to create engaging activities, inquiry-based activities, activities that develop creative thinking, all these sort of things that NSF likes to hear about. What I'd like to explain in this setting is that the CBERT pre-college program really wants to work with ISU faculty to tailor their broader impact proposal to meet their research. And we've been doing this for many, many years now. We will work with faculty to develop 1 to 2 day training programs. Recently, I worked with someone in GDCB who's also in statistics, and we've designed a 2-day workshop on bioinformatics for high school teachers and students over the summer. I've worked with people who are writing their science and technology center proposals right now on 1-week trainings for teachers. We can work with the faculty to develop curriculum for K-12, and there's, the list is very long, and what I want to emphasize is that we work with you with ideas that have worked in the past, that can be modified to meet your specific research, so that we can form strategic partnerships in high-need school districts. Here are just a few pictures. We feel that teaching teachers and training teachers is very, very valuable. You can show high impact. We have strategies to show this impact. We work very closely with the Research Institute for Studies in Education that's here in this room. They do a lot of the evaluation for us and provide the results for the evaluation in your annual reports and final reports. Teaching teachers provides a long-term goal in that each teacher touches 20 to 150 students a year, and that's a huge impact. And then going to the K-12 classroom, faculty who go into the classroom show tremendous commitment. A lot of faculty don't want to deal with that drive to wherever the school is and then spending time there and thinking about what they're going to do there and then driving back. It's a whole day for them, and they don't like the idea. But I tell you, this is huge impact. Going in there, spending time, going more than once has a big impact on the students and on the teachers themselves. So it's a very good idea to include that in a proposal. And finally, I just wanted to say that we will help the faculty prepare your broader impact statements and their budgets, depending on how much money they can spend. We will provide letters of support. We will help recruit teachers and students. And we do focus on recruiting students and teachers from minority or underserved populations, or who teach in schools that have high representation of those groups. We administer all the documentation, including risk management, payments, housing, etc. And as I just said, we provide the evaluation. So just in summary, this hasn't been suggested before, it's so important for faculty, as soon as they start thinking about writing grants, to find out what is going on. The sooner you get involved in an outreach activity of any sort, the better it is for your future proposals, because it shows commitment. It is so important to show that you've been doing this. This isn't the first time you're thinking about it. You have a track record. You've got data to support it, and we are here to help you with that. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. Is there a quick question?
I have just one quick comment, if you don't mind. So I just happened to talk with an EE professor at Stanford about her broader impacts, and she was a recent career winner, and she had exactly what Otto was referring to. She started to work with teachers, and she put a table in her proposal that listed, she worked with, how many teachers in the first year, the second year, the third year, et cetera, and then how many students were, connected with that teacher, and she totaled it up, and there were hundreds of students that she could say she impacted, and obviously it helped, I'm sure, get her a career award by taking that kind of focus on it.
Okay. Very quick question, because we are kind of running.
So how do you deal with IRB approval for the evaluation and assessment?
This is why it's really useful to have a relationship with a Research Experience for Studies in Education program. They help us walk through the whole IRB process.
Okay, thank you. We are going to have a question and answer session after that. Right now, I would like to present Ruth McDonald, Department Chair, Food Science and Human Nutrition. Okay.
Good morning. I'm actually representing the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences. I have a small appointment as the Assistant Dean for Graduate Programs in the college, and so I'm going to cover a couple of the programs that are in the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences that have some impact on recruitment and undergraduate research and graduate programs. So the first is our GRAM program, our Graduate Research Assistantship Match. This provides 50% of the assistantship for multicultural graduate students. And so we allow faculty to write this into their grant, and then they can get a match from the college for recruiting those students. A lot of times this will be combined with other support that minority students can get on campus, and so you can essentially get a full-time student paid through this program. And I've included the websites for all of this on my slides. The second one is our Science with Practice program. So the College of Ag has a long-standing program for providing a very structured, very organized research program for undergraduate students. where they work with the faculty, and the half of their salary comes from the college and half of it comes from the faculty. This program is allowing students to really focus on developing a very organized plan of work for their research. They're expected to work 15 hours per week. There's a final report due, and there's a poster session for these students, so they have an opportunity to actually practice their professional skills by presenting their work. Someone already mentioned the George Washington Carver Summer Research Program. This is a long-standing program in our college that recruits high school and undergraduate students from various universities around the country. We have a very strong relationship with the 1890 institutions such as Tuskegee and Alabama A&M and Prairie View, and so we are connected to those schools, and the faculty then encourage their students to come up to Iowa State for a summer experience. This is a shared program as well. We ask faculty to write into their grants funding for these students at the amounts you see there. But the point is that the students are based on campus, they're housed, there's an organizational structure to their weekends and to their activities so that they get mentored along the way and see Iowa State as a good place to come for graduate programs or to do research. So this has been very successful, and I don't have actual data on how many we recruit out of this, but I think it's pretty high. We do have service learning in multiple ways in the College of Ag, and this is a very critical aspect, we believe, to promoting greater impacts for our students. A couple of them that I've just listed here would be the program that we have ongoing in Kamali District of Uganda, where students will do internships associated with Makerere University there. It's part of the study abroad program. Students spend time with school districts in the Kamali district. They do projects such as gardening, growing mushrooms, different kinds of food and agricultural related projects to support improved quality of life for the people in that part of the country. We do also have programs within the Center for Sustainable Rural Livelihoods, and one example is the Establish and Grow program, which is now an NGO that was established by Iowa State students to support, again, improving the quality of life for people in developing countries. And then another example is the Skunk River Navy, which is the freshman biology learning community where they go out and clean up the Skunk River, which is always a good experience for students and a very bonding experience for them as well. And then I just have two student organizations, although these are also national organizations. MANNERS is the Minorities in Agricultural, Natural Resources, and Related Sciences student program, and this is open to all students. It's not just a minorities organization, but it is definitely supportive of racial and ethnic students to give them a common voice and a place to meet. They have organizational leadership and public speaking opportunities to increase the quality of the learning experience for those students. There is also a national meeting that our students will sometimes attend. We actually hosted it. We are hosting it this year. So it does bring a whole host of minority students who are interested in science to the Iowa State campus, and then it supports our students that are in those careers as well, or those majors. And then the other one is SACNAS, which is the Society for Advancement of Chicanos and Native Americans in Science. And again, this is a national organization. They do have a professional meeting. I know Linda Wild, sitting here, encourages us to attend that meeting and support and provide some support for faculty to recruit students at their national meeting every year. And we do have a local chapter for the SACNAS program here at Iowa State. So those are the programs in the College of Ag.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there a quick clarification question?
We're doing good for time, Alex.
Yeah? Okay.
You said we were going to have the National Manners
Yeah.
meeting here this year. When is that scheduled?
Soon, actually, maybe. When is that?
It's usually March, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's right. I think
Okay.
it's coming up in March.
For some of the assistantships, do you have to be in the College of Ag?
For the
Some of
Science
the-
with Practice?
Yeah, and some
or
of the other ones.
the
summer
George Washington
ones.
Carver?
Yeah.
No, you don't. If you have the funding to support it.
Okay, so that's, as I said. So the next speaker will be Derek Rollins, Professor, Chemical and Biological Engineering, Statistics, and he's the Campus Director for the Inspire LSAM program. So, thank you.
Let me say good morning to everyone. Before today, how many of you had not heard of LSAMP? Raise your hand high. Okay, so there are a few of you. So most of you have heard of LSAMP. Okay. Yeah, I'll tell you what it is, but we're gonna do. I'm gonna ask you some more questions first. Okay, so LSAMP. How many people that heard of LSAMP knew that LSAMP did not know that LSAMP was an NSF program? NSF program. How many of you did not know it was NSF sponsored? Okay, a few of you. Okay. How many of you did not know that there is an LSAMP program here at Iowa State before today? Okay, a few of you. Okay, so we're going to teach. You're going to learn some things that hopefully will be good. So LSAMP, the LSAMP concept or idea has been around more than 20 years. Okay. Huh? I'll tell them the acronym in a minute. Okay.
No, go ahead, Derek.
Okay,
We
so
work
she
together.
messes
We're
with me
working
all the
together
time.
on this, so I'm
Right.
giving her a hard time.
Okay, so I'll tell you what LSAMP means in just a minute. Okay, but it's been around about 20 years, and I can imagine what happened was that, since NSF got together, they're looking at their data, they're looking at the number of underrepresented students in STEM, and they're seeing a large gap between the population and that number. And I can imagine someone said, well, we got to do something about this. Okay, we say it all the time, right? Somebody's got to do something. Well, a lot of times the somebody is us. We got to do something. So LSAMP was born. Can someone tell me what LSAMP means? What does it mean? Good job. Do we have a gift we can give her for that? I'll give you that $1 later, okay? All right. So LSAMP, okay, stands for Lewis Stokes. Now, I don't know much about Lewis Stokes. Diane can probably tell you about Lewis Stokes, but I don't know much about Lewis Stokes. But it's about alliance, and it's about participation. So LSAMP is about alliances. And where LSAMP started originally was in the Deep South, and about 20 years ago. When I first came to Iowa State, I used to go to meetings in Florida and New Orleans and places like that. It grew on the East Coast first, and then the West Coast started to move north. And about 20 years later, it finally made it up to Iowa. Okay, and we have in Iowa now. We have an alliance with schools that are in Nebraska and Iowa and Illinois. And that's where the II comes from, IIN, Iowa, Illinois, Nebraska. Okay, so it's about alliances. It's about partnerships. It's about bringing stakeholders together who have as their, motivation to increase the number of underrepresented students in STEM. And so the alliances, we are part of a much bigger picture because NSF have these alliances all over the country, and all of these alliances involve community colleges, four-year institutions, and universities. Okay, and so the ideal is that you bring all these institutions together, and by forming these partnerships, that you will bring best practices, from community colleges all the way through universities and vice versa. Okay, and in the long run, that's going to begin to impact the numbers. In our particular, we've been around for 3 years or so. Okay, So our particular alliance consists mainly of schools in Iowa, but we also have, schools that border the, that are west of us in Nebraska, and they're east of us, the border along Illinois. Okay, and again, the goal is to form partnerships and alliances so that we can increase the numbers. Now, this is how NSF defines success. It's doubling the number of underrepresented students in STEM. It's very specific, okay? And they do it by BS degrees. And it doesn't consist of all BS degrees. There are some exceptions. But most, anyone who is working on a BS degree would fall under the goals that we have in terms of increasing the numbers, okay? So at Iowa State, again, it's about forming alliances, okay? We do a lot of things to increase the number of students in STEM here at Iowa State. But a lot of the things that we do could be done more efficiently, okay, by getting together and talking. So one of the things that we have as our goal here at Iowa State is to find out who the stakeholders are and bring those stakeholders together so that we can do things in a more streamlined and a more efficient way, and that we can, work together to increase those numbers. So that's one of the things that we want to do. The other thing that we want to do is we want to bring in programs. We want to help you to develop programs within your departments, within the colleges, that will have great impact. For example, let me give you an example. One of the ways in which I think we've played a key role is in the development of what we call Apex E. And so basically what we did was we got together with the College of Engineering and we talked to them about the importance of having a bridge program with certain elements. And they took that, ran with it, and we figured out a way where we can institutionalize this through the regular Apex program, and they put Apex E. So Apex E, the E stands for engineering, and they were able to work within an existing program here at Iowa State, but also modify that program in such a way that would be more effective for the students in their college, but they're working, within that system. And then, so that happened, and then now that's starting to spread, to other colleges. Now we think of it as Apex STEM because last summer we had a number of students involved in this bridge program, where in different colleges now they were beginning to create programs that were very specific to the needs of their students. And so we try to support and help with effort like this. That's one of the things that, that we do. The other area that we spend a lot of effort is in the research area. And there's a basic belief in the people that run the LSAT program in NSF that one of the greatest ways in which you can impact students is getting them involved in research, because when you get students involved in research, they get an automatic mentor, okay? They begin to feel a sense of, they have a greater sense of connection, okay? And the thing about research is it allows you to be an individual to an extent where now you can bring in your ideas beyond what you get in the classroom, and you can begin to see how things evolve, and and that helps with excitement, motivation. And so students, a lot of times are, I don't know if I like class, but I do like research, so I guess I'll stay in school, something like that. But anyway, so one of the things that we want to do is increase the number of students that are involved in research, and we do this. This is probably perhaps the one thing that we take a greater hand in terms of our participation. ultimately, we like to see everything institutionalized. But in terms of research, you know, we do play a greater role. And a lot of the funding that we have goes directly to trying to increase the number of students involved in good research across the Alliance. And so the way this is, you know, so things that have happened, one of the things that have happened through this alliance is that we have students from community colleges coming to Iowa State in the summer doing research. We have students from our four-year institutions coming to Iowa State doing research. We have students from Iowa State going to alliances across the nation doing research, okay, because of that connection. And so now let me tell you what some of the benefits are in terms of the way that we've set research up. We have what's called a level 1 student. A level 1 student is a student that's funded by, in some way, by, you know, LSAMP. Now, we like to have as many level 1 students as we can. And the reason is because it benefits the students tremendously, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. But so we have money. LSAMP has money for students to do research. So as a faculty member, you know, if you're interested in working with the student and perhaps you don't have money, okay, you can go to our website. You know, you'll fill out our form, and you know, the student will fill out the form. You encourage students to fill out the form, and they can apply, you know, for funding. Okay, so now they have funding. We don't have the funding that can support, you know, a lot of research, but we can supplement funding that you have, you know, to help students get involved in research. Now, you know, that student would become a level 1 student because they're receiving funding. Okay, so through LSAMP, you know, you have the possibility of having research, having dollars come into your research, to your area of research through LSAMP. Now, the other way that can benefit you as a faculty member is that when a student is supported under your research, we also have funding for equipment, okay? So, for example, I did, the honors program has something like this, and so I did this with some of my students last year. I do work in diabetes, you know, glucose, blood glucose, and there were some devices that I wanted to get that the students were going to work on. For example, there was a glucose meter that would automatically read into a smartphone, and I wanted to get that. It wasn't very expensive, but it was a project that one of the students had. So, you know, so we used money, you know, to buy that device and be able to do that research. And that's the same kind of a thing that you'll have, you know, with students that are level 1 students that are in your group. You'll have an opportunity to have money for research. The other thing is that when students go to meetings, and they don't have to be necessarily funded, but, and like I said, we want to build as many partnerships as we can. But when students go to meetings, there's money to help support students that go to meetings. When students, you know, are making their posters, there's money to help with that. But to me, the most important reason, a big reason for a student to be a level 1 student is because it opens them up for the Bridge to the Doctorate program. Now, how many of you that has heard of LSAMP before today had heard about Bridge to the Doctorate? Okay, there's one person. Okay, so that's a well-kept secret. But this is a very you know, great opportunity for students that want to go on and do research. If a student is a level 1 student, and like I said, there are LSAMPs all over the country. Okay, that if a student is a level 1 student, it opens them up, as, you know, as they have now the possibility to apply for Bridge to the Doctorate funding. So basically what it says is that they will get money for tuition, stipend, you know, for so many years, okay, you know, to do research after their undergrad experience, okay? So that's why we want to get as many students as we can involved in research, get them connected with LSAMP, you know, because of those opportunities, because of the funding opportunities for you, because of the benefits to the students, okay? So that's pretty much what I wanted to say. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Okay, thank you.
So Alex, I forgot that Derek was up next when I said you were, good for time. Yeah.
Okay.
She's my boss.
Okay, is there,
The Alliance wide. I asked it to her, so she's
Right.
messing with me. So I'll sit down and let her speak.
is there a quick question? Yes?
So I was just looking at your website while you were talking, and it's easy to find where students can apply, but it's less obvious to me, okay, where faculty apply. Okay. And do you match up faculty with students? Or, I mean, like if a faculty member is interested in a minority student, but they don't have a particular one in mind? Mm-hmm. Okay, so I have heard of LSAMP, but I've never been contacted by LSAMP as a faculty member potentially interested. And so not only having a place on the website where faculty can click and find out more, but maybe a broadcast to faculty that may be interested. Yes, sure. I would do that.
We'll let you two talk. I mean, that's a good suggestion. And there also is the students in LSAMP, some of the students have formed a new club called iResearch. It's a new student org, and that's also a good way. They're getting organized, and they're trying to make connections with faculty, and that would also be a good way to get access to some of those students.
Okay, thank you. And with that, we move to the last speaker, Denise Ross Haynes, Interim Director of the Science Bound.
Okay. And, I'm embarrassed to say I've never really used one of these little clickers before, so. All right. Well, I'd like to say hello to you all. I'm looking at Dr. Max, and I had him 4 years ago when I was a doctoral student here at the College of Education now, the School of Education now. So a lot of things have changed. Names and titles have changed. But I'm excited to be back serving as interim acting director of the Science Bound, where Dr. Hargrave is sort of on a research sabbatical. And so I'm excited to work with you. I'd like to see that picture again, because one of the things I'd like to emphasize to you faculty, how many of you all have ever worked on Science Bound Saturdays? Okay, so yes, I know that some of you are very, very involved, and thank you for all of your work, because I'm a huge fan of Science Bound already, and also the programs that I've been hearing about to date right now since we've been presenting together. So one of the things I want to quickly emphasize, because I'm going to jump to the last slide here, is establishing strong, positive, academically influential relationships with science-bound students and parents. And I just want to encourage you guys, to me, impact starts with relationship. And I think that's one of the things that I love about Science Bound. And we can provide you with perhaps help you with some of the data. I'm messing with this clicker, but that'll get me back. Uh-oh, what did I do? Okay, that's it. All right, let's go back. This is just left and right, right?
Yeah, but
okay.
If you go back to the end, then you have to go back.
Okay, no more. All right, and so one of the things, let me just quickly finish up that comment, is just to emphasize the relational aspect of institutional impact as we begin to nurture and develop STEM talent. And before I forget, I want to just put it out there also that we're available for talking and sitting down and asking you what you really need. There's some questions in my mind that have come up already with your questions about what is evidence-based and the data. And I'm curious to know, what do you need? What kind of data are you looking for? Are you looking for numbers? Are you looking for increased in GPA? Are you looking for numbers of STEM students, signing up for majors, in your school? So those are the kinds of questions that I think in dialogue, and I think all of the presenters before me have sort of invited you to sit down and talk with them. So those are some things that
were questions for me. You know, something like a library. I remember when Dr. Shelley was my, I'm not doing anything, I promise you. I'm not doing anything. It keeps going up and.
No, because now to the right. Where do you want to go?
I'm just, I don't have sweaty palms even. Let's just stay right there. Okay. Can we just stay right there and you keep that? Okay. All right. The slide before that would tell you a little bit about ScienceBound. ScienceBound has about 400 students under our purview right now, a little bit over 400 in three cities, Marshalltown, Denison, and Iowa, about 20 schools. Okay, is it doing?
No, it was my mistake.
Okay. Loosen up, it's Monday. And this is actually my first presentation as an interim director, so I knew that it would just be something funny. But seriously, underneath all of this joking and everything, we are a very serious program, and we're doing really, really, really good work. And we have about a little over 400 students and 20 schools in Marshalltown, Denison, and Des Moines, as I mentioned, and we have about 112 here on campus in the collegiate program. So there are a host of opportunities for you to get involved and make an impact with our students. And so I want to talk with you about that one-on-one, and I want to talk to you about how we can connect with you better. So here's the core program of ScienceBound. It actually starts in the 7th grade. Students officially enter the program in 8th grade. We work with them through high school, and then they have to do a lot. I know that's not a really good word, but they have to do a lot of activities with us. They sign a contract. Their parents are involved. The students, the teachers out there in the high schools are quite involved, so there's opportunities for you to do some things there. And once they complete all of the requirements that we have them go through, then we invite them to campus, and if they choose Iowa State, then we give them a tuition scholarship. And then, of course, there's a number of things they have to do in order to keep the scholarship, so that we can talk offline. Core program, orientation summer, pre-algebra program is a camp program. It's based in Des Moines, so there's some opportunities for you there. There's a day and night field trip, a day-long field trip, and I believe, what is that place? It's Springbrook, okay. And then there's weekly in-school meetings with ScienceBound teachers. There's some road trips for you. Again, relational things is how you might be able to best impact and interact with ScienceBound. Additional activities planned by ScienceBound teachers and staff. One of the things I think I looked in the requirements that you all have to be concerned with, and I saw something about educator information and being a resource. Is that correct? One of the things you can do, just as a quick idea, is help us even to become a greater resource for our teachers in the high schools. And I think we can do a lot of things web-based, we can do some things online, we can do a lot of different things. So that's an area. You can also be a guest lecturer or a celebrity scientist and go and visit our schools. So those are some things you can do. You can sign up to be a mentor, and I think you asked in the back about choosing students for research opportunities. To me, that's critical, and one of the things that I'm going to focus on is our collegiate program, because I have a student affairs background, so that's one of the things I want to kind of really develop while I'm here in my short term. So I think that's really about it. Yeah, I think the emphasis is relationship. The emphasis is come and talk with us. Anita Rollins has really been sort of, I think, the staple of the program in a lot of ways. She's kind of been the, one of the constants there that supports Dr. Hargrave in the efforts. And we have a student programs coordinator that's in the high schools, Esperanza, and Adam Wade is our graduate professional there. And so please come and talk to us, come and talk with me. Before coming here, I was the director of college and counseling and career services at Simpson College. So my epistemology is on transition and getting folks to the next level. And I'm a big one on identity and development and collaboration. So feel free to come and talk with us. And we're moving actually right now. That's probably why I feel a little, you know, Monday-ish, because we're actually moving offices from office and lab to Gilman second floor. So we're in a bit of a flux. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. And now, how much time do we have?
We have about, well, we have almost 10 minutes, not quite.
Well, I'm just saying because I was thinking of bringing everybody here, but maybe.
I think it's worth it for a few
Yeah.
minutes, if you all wouldn't mind just joining Alex up front for a
We will
short
have
Q&A.
chair.
I think we'll leave 2 mics up there, and then I'll
Yeah.
have a mic out here.
And then there are a few questions left that maybe someone will need to bring a chair. These chairs are kind of heavy, so you know, we'll need someone who's
You could be
actually
off
strong.
this side.
Yeah. I mean, not everybody, you know. Okay, thank you very much. Well, there are a couple of questions left. One question that was asked is, which probably is something that we could, there are 2 main questions that seem to be like general issues. One is the issue of data, I mean like metrics. That seems to be an issue for all common programs. And the other issue that came up, which maybe we could answer now, is which of the programs that, because each of you manage quite a few programs, have been the most successful. I mean, that was asked for women in science and engineering, but maybe we could ask it for all of us. So maybe we can start with Janice.
And I guess I would focus on those that faculty researchers might get involved with. So if we were trying to direct faculty in particular ways to collaborate with your programs.
So I would say that our Taking the Road Less Traveled Career Conference has been very successful. We would like to get more data to find out how many of those students actually come to Iowa State or end up in a STEM field. But just from the numbers that we get and the impact that can make, like I said, we do this 6 times a year and have 400 students at each conference and usually end up with hundreds of people waiting that don't end up getting in because we don't have enough space. Also, I think the role model program is very effective, but like I said, we would like to get more data to find out how many of those students actually come to Iowa State and then end up majoring in a STEM field and in a STEM career. So.
I think when you say what's the most effective, that's a difficult question to answer. But I think all of these are effective. I think that getting students involved in research, having a relationship with a faculty member before they come to college is really important. So I think the GW Carper research program, all the summer internship programs that a variety of programs have is hugely impactful, particularly for minority students that might come from schools where they don't have the science level that, you know, we see at some of the schools, particularly in Ames or in the Des Moines area. So I think getting students engaged with faculty and research and having them on campus in a friendly environment is hugely important to getting them connected to science education.
I just think I would ditto that. I think engagement is really one of the key words, and it is a buzzword around which you might be able to find some research that supports your desire for the data of how this impacts students and their learning. So we can certainly talk with you further about how to connect with that data, and maybe we can find some creative articles that are out there that that will help you.
The King Moulton project is brand new. So in terms of getting any kind of historical data, it's a little bit more difficult. However, it's exciting in that this is the only PROMISE program that we know of that begins at the elementary school. So the data collection that's going on and will be going on will be longitudinal and long-term. You realize that we will not be beginning the process of providing scholarships for another 4 years, so that we're working with students at the elementary grades, and then they do not harvest the gains or the scholarship until they enter high school. Now, the Des Moines Public Schools is certainly a reservoir of opportunity, and they maintain data that we will be using to merge with the data that we have when these students come here. So obviously grades and attendance and behavior. Now, getting through IRBs is something we haven't done yet, but part of our MOA with the Des Moines Public School does include access to and use for research purposes of data that they collect. So this is very much a future-looking project that can have a lot of exciting outcomes, and the data is being collected beginning now.
I think all of us are going to tell you that our programs are the one to go with, and all of us have impact data and et cetera. But I think as a researcher, for those of you who are thinking about writing proposals, I think it's important for you to think about what you're most passionate about. Having listened to this presentation and also just your background and your interests, I think if you go after something you feel passionate about, it's going to resonate with you better, it's going to resonate better with the review panel, and I think that's your first question. What is it you want to accomplish? And maybe just taking the time to talk to the different groups on campus, finding out more about the possibilities and the options will help you get to that answer.
Okay. So, you know, I mean, that's no question answer, so please go ahead.
Are there, questions, we can field a question or two from the audience yet for the panel? Okay.
So Amanda.
So this is maybe generally directed, but especially probably at Science Bound. I noticed one of the bullet points on your slide mentioned summer research, and that's also something a lot of the other groups have stressed, and it's certainly something I'm interested in. But there's also all these other boot camp programs and preparatory programs. Has there been any effort made to link some of those preparatory programs to skills that the students would benefit from in a summer research experience, so that they come into that summer research experience, for instance, with some background in, for instance, programming, that would let them get involved in a more interesting project?
Can you unpack that just a little bit, some skill sets?
So for example, in the type of physics research I do, particularly for the aspect of that research that is not building instruments or working in the lab directly, but working with the data. And we very often have a lot of data to work with, and there's some really interesting projects we'd love to give students in summer research. But what happens is but it involves programming in some programming language. Then that has been one of the biggest barriers for us in doing really effective mentoring on those types of projects. And yet those are the projects the students are attracted to, because they get to really go after a real research question and really work with real data. And it would be great if there was some way of doing, you know, some of these programs so that they know what these projects entail and can and can go into a summer research project having already done some of that learning, so that they're not so frustrated in learning on the job when we get them involved in these projects.
And Ada might, I mean, you're welcome to answer, but Ada might also, by taking
Oh,
the teacher.
Ada was already telling me I should answer that question. But let Janice answer, and then I'll give the
Feel free, and I can. Feel free, and I'll take it back.
This is a big problem, not just in physics, but for example, bioinformatics. There is a big hole of recruiting kids into bioinformatics straight from high school. It's graduate students is another issue, but undergraduates going into bioinformatics is very weak. And it's because they don't know about it when they're in high school. And so the same probably is with you. And how do you engage these kids in high school so that they know that they could do these projects when they get to a junior, between their junior and senior class, that they can do these research activities? So if you're writing a proposal, one thing to do is offer a summer workshop where you bring in kids and train them for a week, for example. Or you work with teachers to help them bring these subjects in a more active manner in the classroom. We have an RET program for Project Lead the Way teachers. Those are teachers who are specifically in pre-engineering courses. And those teachers have no clue about the sort of things you're talking about. And if you work with those kinds of teachers, it's like, oh my goodness, we could be doing that in the classroom. So, yeah.
Yeah, and in general, I think we need to be more creative in this. I mean, in engineering, there's also IT Adventures. Doug Jacobson runs that, and he sends kits out to schools, you know, and then they have competitions. So different ways to get them involved in some of that preparation is really important. And
Let me ask before you go to another question. I'm excited to work with you on that. I was just last week in, I think it was Lincoln High School. I was talking with one of the students, one of the teachers who is a freshman. They're teaching physics in the freshman year now. I couldn't believe it. So we have what we call Science Bound Mondays, and where the Science Bound students every week get together with their Science Bound teacher. And so those are some things that we can definitely do. So the key is innovation. The key is creativity. The key is let's get out there. I'm excited, collaboration, as Ada said, and I'm excited to be able to work with you. I've spent the last 16 months of the last 2 years in the land of in Israel, which is the, what is the book? Startup Nation. So I am, you know, ripe with innovative ideas and things like that. So yeah, we can certainly do that.
I just have one more comment, actually. I think the key also is communication, and I'm very appreciative of this workshop because it's really valuable to see all of these activities and experts in the same room. And I think putting these things into the Grants Hub and on the SB at ISU website and the database is going to be really helpful. So thank you. And I do have one specific comment over here, which is that Les Miller in the computer science department has been working very hard on outreach to teach programming in high schools and middle schools, and he's another resource that you might want to engage.
thank you. Guess that's a wrap then, right, Alex?
Well,
one
we have another question. So.
Just really quickly, I've actually been sitting on quite a number of NSF panels recently, and I've noticed there's a trend to get more and more of these outcomes metrics for success. That includes not only success with, say, the number of teachers that are impacted, the number of students impacted, but long-term success. How many of these students are staying in these professions and for long-term? And I'm seeing this as an increase. Every time I'm on a panel, they're expecting more and more of these kinds of numbers. So what I'm curious about is how many of you are actually tracking what, I mean, I know some of your programs are really in the infancy, so it's not possible. How many people have been able to track long-term? What are happening to their graduates or people that have been in these programs? Post program. Okay. Impact, outcome. Are they retaining? Are they taking jobs in the STEM field? Are they leaving the STEM field? That sort of thing.
Well, yeah, Science Bound does, and if you would just allow me, if you would be happy to send me an email, and I can get you what I think you need to the degree that we are keeping data on that. I know that we have a above average retention rate of students matriculating with the 4-year degree in the STEM field that enter in as STEM majors, and so things like that. And then of course, in my purview as a student affairs professional too, we have access to some of those data as my own research kind of helps support or will support that. And I think your speaker for lunch will have a plethora of data that will help you do those kinds of engagement things. But yes, if you would email me, and then I can kind of hunt if I don't know it, and then I'm happy to help you in that regard.
Other comments by other programs?
I would like to make one comment about that. I mean, I think that this is actually the future. I mean, I really think that right now, until now, the broad impacts, pretty much if you write something that makes sense, that's good enough. But the future is definitely going into the direction where we will have to present the data, or that will have no validity in terms of broad impacts, what we do. And this is a very good thing, because I've been involved in broad impacts for quite some time, and for me sometimes it's been a little frustrating how little oversight there is about broad impacts. I mean, it's not just about what NSF wants, it's just that broad impacts, they make an impact in our society, and you would like to be able to see to what extent the efforts that you are putting are really measuring in something that is valuable. So I think that this is something that all of us that we are here, we have to really be very we have to start doing it right now. We need numbers, we need metrics, we need evaluations, and we need to sustain these things with. So I think this is the future. I really do.
In the interim, you may be able. It also may be helpful to look at data from other programs, like what is the engagement with faculty
sort of apply to what you wanted to do here locally. And I know that they did exist.
Just one quick question, or one quick comment. As we've been working with faculty on evaluation plans for their NSF grants, we also encourage you to do the evaluation of the broader impacts. And so you've got your total program, but this is one way that you can get some of the data about the impact of your broader impacts as well, and have somebody help you do that.
Okay. So do we have time for another question, or we should keep moving? Okay.